Playing Ghost of Tsushima was one of the weirdest experiences I've had in a very long time. This was mostly due to my initial difficulty to enjoy the game. Back when it initially launched in July of 2020, I tried playing it on PlayStation 4 Pro, and I really struggled to connect with it. I'm not sure why, but every time I sat down to enjoy the game, I just couldn't get into it. I would force myself to explore the map or go through the main story for an hour or two at a time, and it just felt like a chore. And I did this for about a week before the tedious monotony began to take its toll on my mental health. I just simply wasn't having fun, but I was forcing myself to still play the game. So I decided I didn't want to pretend as though I actually was having fun and enjoying myself. And so I stopped. I mean, I make videos and critiques on video games for a living. And if I were to make a video on Ghost of Tsushima, my impression of the game would come off quite negative. But not because the game was actually bad, but rather because I just couldn't personally connect with it. So instead of putting out a piss take trying to bash the game for easy clicks, I decided I just simply wouldn't make a video on it at all. And I didn't touch the game for a long time. I might occasionally jump in for 10 minutes to see if something changed, but every single time that I tried, it just didn't feel engaging or fun. So I would put the controller down and move on to play something else. That is, until the director's cut released in August of 2021. This gave me the opportunity to play through the game on PlayStation 5 at 60 FPS. It had almost non-existent load times, and with all of the other immersive improvements such as adaptive trigger support, 3D audio, and fixes to animation and cutscene problems that bugged me from the moment the game initially released, I was pretty excited to see what this new version could offer. All told and simply, this was the version of the game that was the definitive one. If I was ever going to get into this game, it would be with this updated version. So I decided to sit down and give it one last try, and I am so very glad that I did. What followed was one of the most immersive open world experiences that I've had in a very long time. The world was easy to explore, but not in the gameplay sense, but in terms of immersion. It was easy to get lost in this world, easy to lose track of time, easy to forget about this world in which we live and just become immersed and lost in Tsushima. Furthermore, all of the creature comforts that the director's cut brought greatly improved the gameplay loop by eradicating almost all of the friction that bugged the game initially. There were no long load screens between cutscenes and larger sequences. The higher frame rate made navigating and exploration feel extremely natural and fluid, and the adaptive triggers made shooting arrows feel all the better. Now, at the time that I made a critique of the game, which I have linked in the description box below the like button, by the way, earlier this year, I still couldn't really figure out what changed in my brain or with the game that made me enjoy it. Like, why was I able to enjoy the game in 2021 but not in 2020? Was it really something as simple as the frame rate? Was it really something as simple as getting rid of the load times? What was it that changed in my brain? And today, as I sit here right now, I'm still not entirely sure what changed, but today I wanted to go back, try the game again, and see if we could figure out what works well, what doesn't work well, what holds up, what they could change in a sequel to make this formula work even better. And more specifically, I want to talk about why many people consider this game to be the spiritual successor to Assassin's Creed, a franchise which many old school fans consider to be dead and gone at this point. So join me. I think this is going to be really fun. The one thing I will say before we get into the nitty-gritty of actually playing the game and going through it is that I am live over on Twitch right now as you're watching this video. I'm live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So if you're watching this when the video goes up or on any of those days, pop over. I'll have it linked in the description box and the pinned comment so you can come over, say hi. I would love to see you. In fact, this past Monday, we had over 3,000 of you guys pop over into stream and hang out with us and chat. It was super cool. I'm very humbled by it, and I would love for you to be one of those people. So come by and say hi. But with that, I'll stop e-begging for engagement and for you to come and hang out with me. Let's get into it. Now, this particular save file that we're jumping into is very late in the game. In fact, we've completed most of the main story and the DLC, so we're not engaging with the game early on. We are seeing what a fully leveled up samurai looks like, or pretty close to fully leveled up samurai looks like, and what Tsushima is like when when you have all of the tools at your disposal. I would have gone back to an earlier save, but the save system in Ghost of Tsushima and with PlayStation Network and cloud saves is kind of a mess, because like I played this originally on PS4 and then PS5, but then this PS5 we're playing on isn't the same one that I played on initially, so it's using cloud saves which didn't fully sync. It's like a whole thing. So I'm just gonna go with this and we're gonna deal with it. Now, the first thing you notice when you're playing Ghost of Tsushima is just the lack of UI. As far as I'm concerned, this is the thing that jumps out initially, especially when you jump off a cliff. Let's throw a powder bomb at there. I'm sorry, we're already getting distracted. I just started and we're already getting distracted. Jesus. Anyway, what I was saying is while we're exploring and navigating the world, you'll notice that there isn't much UI on screen. There will be the occasional text pop up that tells you where you are if you discover a new location. If you pull up your bow and arrow, either the longbow or the short bow, or your blowgun or throwables, you will see the UI pop up with relevant information as you need it, but it's highly dynamic, and when you put that away, it goes away to allow you to just take in the world as it is. They don't feel the need to guide you to specific points. They trust that you will find things that are interesting and engaging and seek them out. And I think that's one of the things this game does truly, really, really well. It's something that is not often discussed when we review or discuss open world exploration games. I touch on it all the time when I review and critique games, but it's the confidence in the development to not hold the player's hand, to not go and sprinkle the map with points of interest like Ubisoft games often do, to just let the player look at the world you've designed like we're seeing right here and just explore it. They don't need tons of UI popping up being like, oh, look over here, there's a question mark or a blue dot, let's go over there and find it. They just trust that you'll look at this and be like, oh, ruins, that's interesting, let's go explore that. Or look over there, oh, smoke billowing from some fire, let's go look at that. Or oh, over there in the distance we've got a beautiful meadow, let's explore that. Or over here there's enemies that are coming at us, let's fight them. The player is more than capable of discovering these things themselves. They don't need that much help. There are also ambient stories that are told in the world, such as these civilians which have been hung by these Mongol warriors that are stationed nearby. Just something that simple gives us an emotional impetus to interfere and save the one remaining guy that's tied up on the ground right there. Okay, it's been a very long time. Let's see how good I am at this combat. It's been a while. So as you can see, there are multiple stances that we can engage with. And there we go. We can drop the smoke bomb, interact, do the double tap, get in there, slashy slashy. It's like straight out of a samurai movie. Get over there. Okay, it's coming back to me. Give me some slack. I didn't practice before this. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. Whack, whack. So you see he's resistant to these attacks, which means we have to change our stance. Oh, whack, whack, parry, whack. And for him, he's going to be weak to the wind stance, so we take him out super quick. How cool is that? Where is he? No, he's dead. Here he is. Rescue him. We get the cinematic camera angle. We cut him free. Sake's on me. It better be. Do you know, guys, I still have not, to this day, ever had sake. I've never had it. I went out to a Japanese restaurant. I was gonna order it. It was when I was working in commercial real estate, and my boss told me I wasn't allowed to because we still had like an hour and a half left in the workday. And I'm like, bro, come on, be cool, man. I get it, but like, come on. The game is also freaking gorgeous. I mean, just look at this. Like, how do you not just cream when you see this? It's ridiculous. So with this, we have those little yellow circles in the bottom left. Those allow us to heal quickly, which is always nice. And I will say, like, I'm a little rusty, you know, with the combat. What's this guy using? These? So it's coming back to me, but when you've played through this game like one time through, by the end of it, you are an expert. You'll be quickly swapping different stances as you need to and it feels extremely natural. So while I'm not a great example right now, it does feel very fluid the more you play. But that was the DLC island. Now we're back on Tsushima and actually exploring the main game's map. And I will appreciate, the base game has some very colorful environments. It's very pleasant to see. As we explore the map, we'll encounter these Mongol warriors who basically challenge us to standoffs. And then it's just a matching of reaction speed. The second he jumps, I'll release. Whack. He dies. I win the standoff because he sucks. Oh my god. I almost died. Okay. Oh, pull this back. Whack, whack. Pop goes the weasel. And he drops a bomb and it's going to go off. Boom. Great. So one of the most interesting things about the open world design here is, of course, the lacking UI. It's just not really present, but it's for a good reason because it allows immersion, right? Well, what do you do when you need to go to a specific point on the map? How do you figure out where it is? Do you just have to kind of figure out where the sun and stars are and then follow those? Well, no, actually, there's a really cool thing they did called the guiding wind. So let's just point our pin over here. Let's say we want to go there. In order to tell us where to go, the designers created a wind system that blows in the direction of your point of interest that you're trying to seek out that you've pinned on the map. It could be a main story location, it could be just a place you want to explore, or it could be one of the important areas for leveling up, such as a hot spring, which increases your max health, or any of the other locations that increases certain stats effectively. And as we ride and explore at any time, if we need a follow-up, we just stroke up on the touchpad and it tells us where we're going with the wind. And as we explore passively, we always have the wind blowing in that direction so that we know where we need to go without constant reminders or without a permanent UI element pointing where to go. They trust that the player will passively be able to remember and figure out where they need to go based on the guiding winds, and it ends up being one of the most immersive ways of pointing the player in a certain direction that I can think of in a game, period, much less a recent game. You know, if I could bring a system to future games or other studios' work, I would bring this guiding wind thing to it, because I find this so much better than the annoying, like, constant pinpoint on the map. As you move your field of view, it stays pinned and it overlaps everything. I hate that. It's so annoying. This is the best way I've ever seen it done. There's also these dynamic weather systems at play, and it just comes off as so beautiful. Like, just a moment ago, I like zoned out for 2-3 minutes. I'm supposed to be recording a video, and I just like, oh, pretty, oh, interesting. Like, it's bad because I'm trying to do some work here, but it's also great. Oh, Jesus. That bear messed him up. Oh, okay. It's not funny anymore. Pop. Got him. Got him. Sucks to suck, dude. You also notice this golden bird riding alongside me. That is actually another way that the developers point you in the direction of certain things that you need to find. In this case, if we follow the golden bird, it's gonna lead us right here to a little haiku. And if we hop off, these haiku actually give you, rhymes, little headbands that you can use to customize your character, which is pretty cool. Speaking of customization, if we go over to gear, outfit, you can see that we have a few different options. We have a helmet, we have masks, we have the base armor, all of that. If we tweak these, we have different stat effects. There are different things and perks that you get from using different ones of these. If we go to headdresses, then you can see we can customize different colors to our liking. We can swap them out to different things if we decide. And we also see, like with the basic armor, we have charms and the different armor types. So the armor type itself has certain benefits and disadvantages. In this case, I'm using Gosaku's armor, which is the best armor in the game, at least in terms of fighting. It's got massive health increases, major increases to stagger damage, and killing a staggered enemy restores 20% of health. So if you're going through the DLC, this armor is extremely valuable. It's a little tricky to get. You have to do a fair number of side missions and some tweaking. But once you actually have it, and once you add in some charms that do all sorts of different things, you can just be like demolishing everybody. It's actually pretty compelling, and the action RPG systems that play here with the charms and the different upgrades you can pursue are pretty robust. We also have other armor types such as the ghost armor, which you've probably seen in a lot of promotional materials for the game and trailers and stuff. This is, again, mostly focused on stealth. You would guess it based on ghost armor, but it reduces enemy detection speed by 25%, reduces number of kills needed to enter the ghost stance by 1. Kills have a 15% chance to terrify a nearby enemy, which causes them to flee in panic. Or we can wear like Mongol commander's armor, which gives you a major increase to health, reduces all damage taken by a major amount, and disguises you while out of combat, massively reducing Mongol detection speed. So you can just like casually walk through Mongol encampments looting it while wearing this. It's pretty cool. And one of the more interesting ones is this traveler's attire. And what's interesting about this is that it ties into the other premise of the game, which is trying to encourage exploration as naturalistically as possible. So for one, you see it allows you to track artifacts using the guiding wind, which means that while you wear this, you can tag effectively artifacts and it will guide you to them using the wind, which is great. Traveling clears 20% more fog on the map, and controllers will vibrate within 30 meters of an artifact. So this is what you wear when you're just casually exploring. And wearing this will allow me to demonstrate what's meant by the fog of war. Basically, on the map, we have fog that clouds areas we haven't explored. So this is probably the easiest example. Let's fast travel over here and I'll show you. Right here. I didn't cut that. That's how fast it loads on PS5. It's ridiculous. To head to the right place, I'm going to pin over here so we have guiding wind leading us. You see the wind changes direction and points this way, so we start riding. As you explore the island, an area around you clears out with the fog of war, so it'll be revealed on the map. And if you're wearing this traveler's attire, 20% more of that map is cleared as you explore. Meaning, if you're just taking time out of your day to go ride around, maybe collect some materials, do some hunting, try to get some collectibles or something, complete some side missions, you want to wear this armor. And it's great because the game actually allows you, like we were seeing earlier, to have these different outfits pretty much hot swappable. So as we explore, I can be like, oh, there's something interesting over here. I move over here. Let's say there were Mongols up ahead. I can just quickly pop in here, go gear, outfit, swap back over to whichever armor set I want to use. And it remembers all of my charms. It remembers everything else I've equipped onto it so that then I can just back out quickly and then engage in combat. There's nothing overly tedious. It's meant to be very, very fluid and natural. And sure enough, if we pull up the map, you can see right where we ran through, it's cleared out that section of the fog of war, which is just cool. It's nice. And when we talk about attention to detail, that's something we often just throw out. It's like, oh, attention to detail is a good thing. You want developers to have attention to detail. What does that actually practically mean, though? Well, look at something as simple as this. I'm going to just walk around. You see, I'm walking around. No big deal. As I walk through these reeds, I think these are called reeds. I'm not entirely sure. You'll see Jin actually puts out his hand and feels the flowers as he walks by. Look at that. And in case you're thinking that just happens when he's in a walking animation, it doesn't. When he's walking in regular grass or on dirt, he doesn't do that. But specifically when he walks through the reeds, he feels the flowers through his hand as he walks. How cool is that? It's all these little bits of love and care and attention to detail that take this game up a notch. And I think for me, when I first played this game, I was used to sort of the Ubisoft way of engaging with games. I was used to the Ubisoft open world design, and I'd been conditioned for it. So I wanted more guidance. I wanted more hand-holding. I wanted more crap kind of clogging up the experience. And one of the things that changed between the time that I first tried Ghost of Tsushima and when I actually played it and really enjoyed it was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. For those of you not aware, I actually have extremely negative thoughts with regards to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I consider it to be a travesty, not just as an Assassin's Creed game, but also as an open world adventure game. There's just so many things about it that I think are bafflingly stupid. I can't even. If you want to hear my extended thoughts on it, I did do a 3-hour critique of the game where I broke down in excruciating detail all of the issues I have with it. So if you want to hear about that, all of it linked below. But this is something I didn't realize until recently, and I think it actually is the reason I didn't like Ghost of Tsushima when I first tried, and that is because I was so used to the way that Ubisoft and other big publishers and developers put out games that are focused on exploration and adventure, that this was too free form for me. I couldn't just jump into it. It's like if you're swimming. Like, let's use an analogy. I knew how to swim. In this case, swimming is analogous to like adventuring through an open world in a video game. I knew how to swim. I could swim by myself, but I was used to having like floaties, and I was used to having like being in the 3 foot. And so while I could do it, I just wasn't used to it. I had to sort of work up to it, and I had to make the mental decision to accept I was jumping into the deep end and that it was going to be just me. And once I made that decision, it was great, but I needed something to push me to that point. And Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think, was that push. Because you see, the game was like so bad in terms of its open world design, in terms of how it pushed players to explore and encouraged long-term engagement, that by the time I tried Ghost of Tsushima again, my whole system was begging for more agency, for more freedom, for more adventure. There's no other way to put it. And so in 2020, when I tried Ghost of Tsushima the first time, it was too free form for me. I wasn't ready for it. But by the time that I went back and I tried it after dealing with Valhalla's extreme hand-holding and its over explanation of everything, its extreme UI crowdedness, all of the stuff that Ghost of Tsushima does really, really well, Valhalla does the opposite. And so after I was done with Valhalla, I went back and I played through Ghost of Tsushima, and it was like a breath of fresh air in the most pure sense of the term. Like, it was a palate cleanser. It was the antidote to the poison that I had been drinking with Valhalla. It was everything that game was not, in a very good way. And I think that's why I found this game so compelling in 21 versus back in 2020. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I think I just had that epiphany like right now as we've been playing through this for this video. I really think it was the contrast between Valhalla and this game that made it stand out as something so remarkable. And I needed to be deprived of that freedom of exploration and of the beauty and majesty and simplicity of Ghost of Tsushima's design in order to really appreciate it. And in that sense, I think I agree with a lot of people that Ghost of Tsushima in many ways is the Assassin's Creed game that many people have been wanting and hoping for. It has an incredibly robust melee combat system, but it also has a very robust stealth system, which is also very, very compelling and worthy of engagement. But it also has a very noteworthy stealth system, which is worthy of praise in and of itself. You know, Ubisoft tried to reinvent the franchise with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, and I think they did a pretty rough job of it, especially with Valhalla. They've just demonstrated that they probably don't have the capacity to do what needs to be done to fully complete the transition of the franchise. Meanwhile, like, Sucker Punch comes in with this game and demonstrates just how well it can be done. And in some ways, maybe it's a point of optimism for Assassin's Creed as a franchise. Like, look, the formula can work in modern day. It can work, and it can end up being tremendous and worth playing and one of the best games of the year. But I think maybe it's not a point of optimism for Assassin's Creed specifically, because I think it's extremely unlikely that Ubisoft takes a lot of notes from Ghost of Tsushima. I think it's more likely that they look at like Elden Ring and go, oh, so what players want are just a ton of boss fights. And they just do that for Assassin's Creed Infinity. Or they look at like GTA Online's success and be like, okay, so they want heists, we'll do that instead. Or they want hackers, you know. They just seem incapable of looking at the best example and then pursuing that, and instead they look at like the worst examples of what they could follow up on and pursue that, it's really annoying. I think the point of optimism isn't for Assassin's Creed, it's for this format of game, because what we've seen is not that Assassin's Creed can pull off stealth and open world exploration really, really well. It's that Sucker Punch can. It's that Ghost of Tsushima can. And I think there's reason to be hyped for Ghost of Tsushima 2 or Ghost of whatever the new island's gonna be. Not necessarily for Assassin's Creed. I mean, it's saying something when a non-Assassin's Creed game that has a very robust and compelling stealth and melee combat system also has better like traversal and free running than Valhalla. It's like, come on, guys. That used to be the thing everybody said was really tremendous about Assassin's Creed games. And nowadays, like even Ghost of Tsushima is doing a better job of having dynamic gameplay. It's just amazing to me. But as for things I would like to see in a sequel, because we've touched on a lot of different things so far, but not really a lot of the problems I have with Ghost of Tsushima. It's been a lot of praise and not much critique. So what are some things I would change? So I'll be entirely honest. I sat down for about half an hour before I started filming this video, and I really tried to rack my brain for things that I would change or attempt to improve in a sequel. And I am left without much. I mean, there's the obvious things like, oh, improved graphics and a bigger world and more side quests that are more dynamic and less predictable. Things like that, which like, of course, I think that goes without saying, like more better stuff, you know, that doesn't actually tell us much of anything. In terms of actual improvements and things that they could make, I think they struck a phenomenally impressive balance this first go around, and I'm left pretty damn impressed, and I'm really racking my brain to come up with things that I would tweak or change, and I don't have much to say. The only things I can point to are like cutscenes are a little clunky, and there are some times when I think the lip syncing and the animation quality in cutscenes is really inconsistent. In one cutscene it's really tremendous, in others it's like really meh. But like that's of course going to be addressed in the sequel. That's not anything that's really constructive, because of course they're going to work on trying to improve that type of thing. Like, yeah, you got to increase dynamism. You got to make sure that the next game has engaging combat itself, but doesn't feel like just a repeat of this game. But I don't have much to say in terms of like, this is bad, change that, or this is good, keep that, you know, tweak it a little bit in this way and then it'll be better. Everything I could point to with regards to the core design, I think is tremendous. But you know what? A lot of you guys are smarter than me. So I want to hear what you think they could improve in a sequel, because I'm sure a lot of you guys have some very good ideas and things that I would not be able to think of. So let me know in the comments. But all told, I think Ghost of Tsushima is tremendous. Like going back and playing it now, I can see why I enjoyed it so much. And I think I finally realized just why I was able to connect with this game when I was able to connect with it. And it's not because Ghost of Tsushima changed drastically. Like, yeah, the 60 FPS is great. Yeah, the adaptive triggers are great. They help you be immersed and it's fun and it's a cool gimmick to have. But the reason I think I really connected with it and it became an obsession for me was because it was everything I wanted Assassin's Creed to be. It's everything I wanted out of an open world exploration game after dealing with the polar opposite. And so in many ways, it was the cure to my illness. And for that, I am extremely thankful to it. But let me know what you think of Ghost of Tsushima. If you tried it, if there's anything you would change in a sequel, I'm interested in hearing. And I will have my full critique that I did. It's in 4 parts, so it's a little chunky and clunky. It was an experiment. We released it like part 1, part 2, part 3. It was okay. Let me know what you think of it on that critique video. It was a fun experiment, but I think we'll stick to doing the one big video instead of breaking it into smaller parts. But either way, if you want to hear my extended thoughts on Ghost of Tsushima, you can go check out that video. It's very comprehensive, covers the entire game and the DLC. I'll have it linked below. But I'll leave it there. Like I said, come over and say hi on Twitch. I look forward to seeing you. I'll be live right now or any other Monday, Wednesday, Friday that you might be watching this. So come in, pop in, say hi. I'd love to see you. But with that, thank you for watching. I love all of you more than you possibly know, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.